Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today I want to discuss regarding Saturn and your biggest failure. Okay. So Saturn is the Karaka for failure. Okay. Just like Jupiter is the Karaka for success, Saturn is the Karaka for failure. And your biggest failure comes from the house that receives the 10th aspect of Saturn. Okay. The biggest factor comes from the house receiving the 10th aspect. Wherever Saturn puts its 10th aspect, that house, that failure, that house represents your biggest failure. So this is a very adrida karma. That means this is a karma that you cannot avoid. Okay. No matter how many rituals you do, no matter how many remedies you do, this karma is always going to manifest. Okay. So the solution is to forget that failure, is to forget the signification of that house that is causing, that is bound to fail for you in this lifetime. Okay. So Saturn helps you to forget. Okay. So forget the signification of that house that is bound to fail for you in this lifetime, where Saturn's 10th aspect is falling. Okay. So let's look at the houses and what significations can cause a failure as a result of Saturn's 10th aspect. Okay. So the first house, all right. The first house, if Saturn's 10th aspect is falling on the first house, then your health will always be, unstable. Okay. You will never be 100% healthy at any point in your life. Okay. So you have to accept that, and you do appropriate, you take appropriate precautions. From a young age, you look at how you can prevent your health from going bad and so on. Okay. So the failure will be in terms of health. All right. In the second house, the failure will be in terms of family. That means your family, you might never receive a stable family. That means your family life might never be stable. Okay. Even when you're married, your family life might not receive the stability or might not have the stability that you would want. Okay. In the third house, the failure will come when you travel in a short distance. Okay. That means, if you're going to work traveling a short distance from your house, in that case, you can meet with a failure. Similarly, I've also seen if the 10th aspect of Saturn falls in the third house, then these people are always very prone to accidents. So be very careful with vehicles, be very careful with travels. Okay. Fourth house, this is very obvious, your mother's love. Okay. So you'll always be, you'll always have this complaint that you never received enough emotional nourishment from your mother. You never receive enough emotional nourishment from your relationships. Okay. From your motherly relationships. So that is the 10th aspect of Saturn impacting your fourth house. Fifth house, so this will lead to a failure, that causes this will lead to a failure of expectations from your children. Okay. That means your children will never live up to your expectations. Okay. You'll always expect more from your children, but your children will never live up to those expectations. Okay. If the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on the sixth house, then your servants or your co-workers, your subordinates will not meet your expectations. Okay. You will want your servants to do something else. You'll want your colleagues or your not colleagues, your subordinates to do something else. And they will almost always end up doing the opposite of it. Okay. So the failure will come from that factor. Seventh house, if the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on the seventh house of your horoscope, then failure will come whenever you argue with people, because seventh house is not only the house of your relationships, it is also the house of war. Okay. So if you have Saturn in the 10th house, that means the 10th aspect of Saturn will fall in the seventh house. Never ever pick up a fight unless and until you are forced to do it, because if you pick up a fight consciously, then you will always end up losing that fight. Okay. If the seventh aspect of Saturn, if the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on your eighth house, then you will always face problems related to inheritance. That means your father might have a lot of property, but that property, when it comes to inheriting that property, you will receive some amount of failure, or you might never be able to inherit that property at all. Okay. If the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on your ninth house, then you will never receive enough support from your father. Then you'll always be hungry for that fatherly love. You'll always be hungry for that fatherly guidance, because that is not going to be there most of the times in your life. Okay. If the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on the 10th house, then you'll always face a problem while trying to complete work. Okay, if you have started something and then you're trying to complete that stuff, you'll always run into problems, or you'll always face situations that will not allow something to be over, something to be completed. Okay. If the 10th aspect of Saturn falls in the 11th house, then your network circle will always be problematic. That means, whenever you need some support from your network circle, that support will never be there. Okay, your network, people make networks because they need to use them at a time of need. So that network can, often leave you high and dry if you're seeking support from that same network circle or from your friends. If the 10th aspect of Saturn is falling on the 12th house, then there could be problems related to bed pleasure with your spouse. Okay, so that means whenever, you'll never be a highly satisfied person when it comes to sexual pleasures, when it comes to sensual pleasures from your spouse, or your spouse will almost invariably fail to satisfy you in bed. Okay, so look at your chart and try to see if these things match with you. I welcome your comments and your feedback in the comment section. Leave behind your comments and I'll try to reply to them as much as possible. All right. And if you want a consultation or a discussion regarding your chart, you're always welcome to reach out at the number that is given in the description box. All right. So that's it from me in this video. I'll see you soon in yet another video. Namaste.